Hey there, and welcome to Undoing We, Divorce and Life Conversations on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, radio, podcast, and TV. I'm your host, Mardi Winder-Adams. I'm a divorce coach, a mediator, and someone who's been through exactly what you're going through. This show is all about helping you get through the tough stuff, the overwhelm of divorce, the what now moments, and the messiness of trying to rebuild your life. We're going to talk about real life challenges, share expert advice, and give you practical tools you can use to move forward with your life. Are you ready to start shifting from we to me? Grab a coffee, sit back, and let's get started. Welcome back to Undoing We. I'm your host, Mardi Winder-Adams, and I'm so excited to have you here today because I'm looking back on a conversation I had with just a fantastic and phenomenal resource for anyone going through a divorce. I have the opportunity to speak with Jackie Pilossoph of Divorce Girl Smiling. So full disclosure, I am one of Divorce Girl Smiling vetted and trusted professionals. And I really believe that the service that Jackie offers through her group is something that is very unique and also very customized to each individual. So Jackie has actually created a whole community online under the Divorce Girl Smiling umbrella, which includes blogs, it includes podcasts, it includes different events that she hosts throughout the year, both in person and virtual. And it is just really and truly a phenomenal resource for any woman going through divorce looking for support. She has a very active Facebook group where people can share their successes, ask for support. And it's just really a truly caring, kind, and supportive community, which is something that everybody needs at some point in time through the divorce process. So in the past, I have interviewed Jackie, and I'm going to share about 15 minutes of one of our interviews that I think was absolutely essential, or that is absolutely essential for anyone going through divorce to consider. We're going to talk about a few different ideas in this short clip, because as you know, we start out on one topic, and then as the conversation evolves, we bring in new ideas and concepts. So the initial part of the conversation is going to talk about the importance of creating a divorce team. And I think Jackie does a very nice introduction to this whole idea. And she also talks about who might be on your divorce team. And as Jackie says, and as we talk about in the clip, everybody's divorce team is going to look a little bit differently, or a little bit different based on what the specific issues are in your divorce. From the divorce team, we start to talk about some of the benefits that women can expect going through divorce, and also some of the challenges or the myths or misconceptions that are very common when people, particularly women, are divorcing, and they're thinking about, should I stay? Should I go? And is it a good time to leave the relationship? And I want to stress here that both Jackie and myself, and Jackie says this really clearly in her message, is that staying in a relationship and doing everything you can to make it work is always an important step. However, that means that both people in the relationship have to be making that effort. And it also means that the relationship has to be reciprocal. So I really believe in this part of the whole concept of, should people stay married or should they get a divorce? If staying in the relationship, you are going to feel unhappy, unwanted, unfulfilled, limited, then is it really worth it to stay in this relationship for the next 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years? That's your decision to make as the individual. Obviously, in some cases, where there is any kind of abuse or toxic relationships or unhealthy or unsafe situation, then absolutely, I encourage my clients to consider the big picture. Is that safe for you? Is it safe for your kids? And will the partner ever change? And if you can honestly say no to those situations or those questions, then I think in those specific situations, at least separation, physically leaving the person so that you're not in danger and your kids aren't in danger, should be priority one. And then deciding whether or not you need to end the relationship permanently should be a next big consideration. And we are going to do an episode on dealing with those kind of difficult decisions of getting out and getting safe during divorce. We're going to cover that in an upcoming episode. But for now, let's tune in and listen back to this interview I had with the amazing Jackie Pilossoph of Divorce Girl Smiling, and just listen to this information, consider the idea of a divorce team, the independence, and the benefits that you can expect to see as you move through your life post-divorce. And then we'll chat again on the other side. One thing I think that you mentioned that is really important here, Jackie, the idea of a divorce team. When I went through my divorce, I don't even know when that was. It was a while ago, more than 20 years ago, more than 25 years ago. There was an attorney, and you went to the attorney, and an attorney, I'm going to say this, an attorney is still really critical in a divorce, at least to review your paperwork. Even if you're doing it on your own, get an attorney to review your documents, because you make a mistake, it's going to cost you more than just hiring an attorney to take a look at it if you got to go back. But, now the idea of a divorce team is really relevant. Can you just talk a little bit about that, the idea of a team?
So that sounds expensive, Marty. If I heard that, I'd be like, oh no, I don't want all these people. I'm going to have to pay them all. But let me explain. You're actually going to save money in your divorce and get a better outcome, which might mean a better financial outcome if you hire a team. When we say team, a team is different for every person. A team definitely has a divorce attorney, like Marty said. Probably a mediator if you want an amicable divorce and you want to be able to co-parent well with your ex after the divorce. A mediator could be on that team. Maybe there's a divorce coach for you to help you get through it and make good decisions through the divorce. Maybe there's a real estate agent who is a third party neutral to help you guys sell the house. Maybe there's a mortgage lender on there who specializes in divorce. And all of these people, I forgot, financial advisor. All of these people can talk to each other. And that's the beauty of a team. If you give them all the permission to talk to each other, you're going to save so much time with your divorce attorney, which means less money. And a lot of these people don't cost a lot to have. Like, I think the cost of a divorce coach is ridiculously low compared to what you're going to be getting as far as a better outcome and a better financial outcome. So you could hire a divorce coach and pay that rate, and then you could end up saving $50,000, getting $50,000 more than you would have. A CDRE, real estate agent, that doesn't cost anything. A financial advisor usually doesn't cost anything. They just want you to invest your money with them after your divorce, which is great. You should do that. And then like a mortgage lender, that doesn't cost anything. And so all these people are willing to give their time to you and talk to your professionals for nothing. And it's only going to benefit you.
Yeah. And it is important to make sure that you are making the right decisions, whether you're going through litigation or whether you're going through mediation to finalize or to settle your estate and the property and all the kind of stuff. You can make a simple decision in a mediation that can cost you tens of thousands of dollars in lost interest, in additional fees, things like, do you sell the house when you're a couple, or do you wait and hold it for 2 years and then sell it as a single? Well, there's a big capital gains tax difference on that. So all these things that your attorney is there to represent you in the law, and they do a really good job, but they don't necessarily have the big picture on taxes and investment opportunities and how to sell a house and what the market's doing. That's not their lane. And so I think, thank you, Jackie, for saying that.
And
But
Marty, I was just going to add one thing. A divorce attorney, I think I heard a statistic, is only 25% of your divorce. Did you ever hear that? Like they only handle 25% of what really needs to be done. And that's nothing against divorce attorneys, but as you said, that's their lane. They're
right,
not going to know all these other things that these other people on your team are going to know.
right. And again, they're there to represent you in the law. They're not necessarily the person you want to spend your time going to with your divorce problems that you can't communicate with your ex, or your kids are mad at you about the divorce. That's not the purview of your attorney, and they're probably the highest paid person on your team. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't make sense. So I completely agree with that. But one other thing I know we wanted to talk about, Jackie, is sometimes divorce is seen as such a bad thing for women. And it's just like, oh, there's nothing good about this. Some people have religious feelings or religious hesitancy, or I'm not saying that well. Their religion doesn't believe in divorce, so they struggle with that. Maybe their family doesn't believe in divorce, or maybe they just feel like, well, I failed at this relationship. But there are some good things that can come out of a divorce for a woman. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I always tell people that Divorce Girl Smiling does not promote divorce. I'm a huge romantic. I believe in love if it's with the right person. I believe in love and happiness. And so if divorce is the right move, we're here to help support you through that and after. But I totally love marriage and think it's wonderful if it's the right situation and the right person. Now, all that said, when somebody gets divorced, people might think like, oh, she's going to be bitter. She's heartbroken. She's lonely. She has no self-confidence. She's probably weak and vulnerable. Well, that might be true for about 10 minutes because I truly believe that I've seen more divorced women in the 11 years that Divorce Girl Smiling has been around, 11 years. These women email me months and years later and say, hey, do you remember me? They were a mess at the beginning, and they almost always end up so much happier, and they know they did the right thing, whether it was their choice or not. Sometimes women will say to me, my husband left me and it's the biggest favor he ever did me. I'm so much happier now. And so divorce does a lot of really good things for people. And like, for example, divorce makes you more independent. So, Marty, do you know how many emails I get from women going, I don't know how to be independent. I'm scared. I've never been alone. I moved right from my parents' house into my marriage, or right from college into marriage. I always was with someone. I was never alone. I don't know how to be independent. Well, guess what? You have to learn.
Right.
And it's hard at first. It's really hard. But once you learn, you are going to love being independent because you never have to count on somebody for anything again. And any love that you find, and if you're in a relationship, is authentic because you want it, not because you're depending on someone for money or just to have somebody to be with, or because you don't know how to manage a home. And
Right.
so those are the best relationships of all, when the two people are really independent. It's the best feeling.
It is. And it's amazing nowadays. You can YouTube almost anything and figure out how to do it yourself. I happily rewired my bedroom the other day because I had a plug-in problem. I couldn't get anything to work. I went on YouTube, figured it out, got my little electrical tester, traced it back to the problem, and fixed it. And I felt so ridiculously proud of that. Like, it probably would have taken an electrician 10 minutes. It took me most of the afternoon, not going to lie, but I got it done. And I was so ridiculously proud of being able to do that.
I think you might have to have a disclaimer saying, don't hold us liable.
Yeah, we're not saying doing this yourself, but really, I mean, that sense of independence is something that I think sometimes we lose in a relationship, especially in a toxic or controlling relationship. But sometimes it's just like, well, he does. That's what my partner does. This is what I do. And when we're single, we have to expand that comfort zone a little bit. I love that.
Absolutely. And I'll give you a great tip if you don't feel like you want to take on the handiness like Marty did. I became a client of a handyman who I've had the same guy for like 10 years. And once I realized he was the answer to all my problems. I tip him well. I'm nice to him. I give him like meals when he's here. And if you can get a relationship like that going, they will jump for you. When I need something, like I just moved and my handyman, I walked in my new place and was like crying because there were so many things wrong with it. And I called my handyman and he's like, okay, I can come tomorrow. I was like, really? And he came here and he fixed everything. And it was, so my point is that make friends with a good handyman. Well, not make friends, just have a good relationship. And really, if you don't like to be handy, that is the answer to your problems.
Yeah, you have the freedom to choose what you do and what you don't
Right.
decide to do. So that's
Right.
one thing. What's another benefit that
All
women
right.
find
So
out?
a lot of women will say, I don't want to get divorced because I don't want to go back to work. But then they decide, you know what, I can't take it, or they don't have a choice and they have to go back to work. I'm going to tell your listeners, I went back to work kicking and screaming. I didn't work for several years because I didn't want to leave my little kids alone. It was a huge financial mistake for me because I got to the point that where my financial advisor was like, look, you're kind of running out of money. So I had to get a full-time job. This was during Divorce Girl Smiling, but it wasn't what it is today. So I didn't have the income to just do that. And so I went back to work and it was the best thing I ever did. I was extremely intimidated by technology. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to do like the spreadsheets and the computer things. I learned. You can learn too. I made so many wonderful friends. I felt great about myself. I started getting these big paychecks and I was so happy and I didn't have to worry anymore. And when I was with my kids, it was such quality time that I was such a better mother because I appreciated it more. And I would always be like, come on, you guys, let's go out for a nice dinner. It's Friday. We've all worked and gone to school all week. We need a break. And we would have so much fun, no pressure about money. And just, it was there. I've written so many articles about like all these benefits of going back to work. And I know it's really scary and I know you don't want to do it, but you will be so happy you did.
Yeah, and again, that almost ties in with that independence, right? You're bringing in your own money. You're doing you may not have a big selection of jobs depending on where you live, but once you get your feet back in the workplace and you get going, then you can look for other opportunities. So I love that one. Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that because people think that they have to go get this 40-hour-a-week job that they hate. And my response is don't do a job you hate, but you don't have to have your dream job the minute you go back to work. Do something either that you have to pay the bills. Don't take a job that you're going to cry every morning that you don't want to go, but it doesn't have to be your dream. You can pursue your dream while you're working at a job. That's exactly what I did. I worked for a home care company in the senior care industry. Liked it, but I didn't love it like I love Divorce Girl Smiling, but I pursued. I worked for the Chicago Tribune. I had a column. I was doing Divorce Girl Smiling. I was working. I mean, it was a lot, but then I was able to quit that job to just do this. And so if you're willing to just be patient and you believe in yourself, you can change jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so many options now. And the other thing I was going to mention, you can do online courses now for very low cost and get specific certifications to qualify you for better and better jobs. So there's three really good ideas. What's another one?
So I believe that divorced people are extremely interesting. They're unafraid. They have really good karma because they've kind of been beaten up and they got back up and they're strong and they're interesting because they have stories. I'm not going to sit here and say like people who are happily married aren't interesting or strong. They are. But divorce does something to you that empowers you and makes you feel like, wow, I survived this. I can do anything. Like, for example, a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, She was married for like 25 years, didn't have to work. Her husband basically came home one day, said, I'm not in love with you anymore. I'm in love with this other woman, married the other woman the day the divorce was final. It was a horrible divorce. She was devastated. No one knew what to do because she was such a basket case. Since then, she has run a marathon, traveled all over the world. And I'm not saying with people, she went by herself, joined a softball league, never says no to anything, would never have done any of these things if she was still married, and says, look, it still hurts, but I have a completely different life than I would have had I still been married. And guess what? The ex-husband is miserable with the other. We all know it. But, I mean, and that doesn't give me joy, but just the way things turned out. For people listening, if your spouse left you, trust me, give it a few years. They'll either be divorced again or they'll just live in misery.
That's one of the highest divorce rates, by the way, is people that are having an affair, leave their current spouse and marry the person they had the affair with. That has a really high divorce rate in the first 3 years. I forget what it is. It's like 75% or something of them will divorce.
And why do you think that is?
Because I think I think it was really exciting when they were kind of running around behind the spouse, or the spouse is, and then all of a sudden they're stuck, and guess what? He's still leaving the toilet seat up and she's still not doing the toothpaste right. Nothing's changed. It's, the excitement is off the relationship, and it's back to just the bare bones.
And the guilt starts to wear in. And then you look at the other person and say, well, how could you have cheated? I don't have respect for that.
Right.
And so you start to lose respect for each other. And then you realize, like Marty said, you have the same thing. And there's a lot of people who regret. And I don't know if that makes your listeners feel any better if their husband just left them for somebody, but it's more of a validation kind of thing.
Yeah.
You feel validated. You knew it wasn't going to work out, and it didn't.
I told you we had a good conversation that day, and I really appreciate Jackie Pilossoph sharing her expertise and wisdom. And she has worked with people going through divorce for years and really has a clear understanding of who are those professionals that might make up your divorce team. And I want to stress, like Jackie said, that everybody's divorce team will look different. If you have a lot of real estate, maybe you have your primary residence, maybe you have a rental home, maybe you have a summer cottage, or, a lot at the lake where you set up your camper, or maybe you have inherited stuff during the marriage from a family member passing or whatever. Each and every one of those issues are things that you need to talk about with the respective professional that is best equipped to answer that. A big mistake I still see people making is assuming that their attorney can give them advice on everything. And there are some attorneys who do have a background as a CDFA or as a financial planner, or they've been an attorney and then they've gone and taken those certifications and those trainings to be able to provide that information for their clients. Though that number of attorneys is relatively small, but if you're working with somebody like that, then maybe you don't need to have a separate planner or financial support person on your team, but you still may need to speak to a divorce real estate professional. So somebody who is able to come in and act as a neutral person and help you as a couple decide things like, what's the asking price on the home? These are things that you still are going to have to negotiate, that may talk to you about options for buying each other out. And does it make sense to do that given the market and what's going on in your community? There's also things like capital gains to consider when you sell the property. Does it make sense to sell it now when you're still legally married, or does it make sense to have one person assume the mortgage and everything and then sell it a few years down the line? Having all of this information available to you and all this knowledge is going to allow you to make divorce decisions that are in your best interests, and also are the ones that are going to support you with whatever your goals are moving forward. And like Jackie said, and I hope you caught that, a lot of the professionals that she was listing off are not going to charge you a fee up front. There may be, they may work with you on a pro bono basis. They may work with you on a consultation basis, or they may charge a relatively small flat fee to just do a specific task for you. And this is where you can save a lot of money on your divorce, because spending hours and hours with your attorney, who is your highest paid professional in most situations, is going to run up your divorce bill. Whereas if you save your time with your attorney to speak about legal issues, and if you already understand the financial options you have, then when you talk to your attorney, you are clear, you're able to make the best decisions to move yourself forward. And also, again, to have the knowledge that the decision you're making is in your best interest. And I can't stress how important that is. I really enjoyed the rest of our conversation as well, and I hope you did too, about the ideas of how moving through divorce can really open up some opportunities for us. I did share my little electrical story in there, but I do think that as women going through divorce, sometimes being single again can seem a little overwhelming and a little scary, and even a little concerning if you maybe haven't had the responsibility for maintaining a home or property, or returning to work, or finding your way again in life as a single person as opposed to a married person. I think Jackie gave us some great tips. I think there's some really effective strategies and some really effective ideas, particularly about how to re-enter the workplace, because let's face it, there can be situations where maybe you have a 10 or 20 or longer year gap in your resume. So I really like Jackie's idea of returning to work based on what would you like to do, not as a full-time job, or a long-term job, but as something that allows you to get back into the workplace, get some basic skills, and get some current information that you can put on a resume so that you are ready to be positioned to move into one of those career jobs when they become available. I hope you found this episode helpful and interesting, and I hope you got maybe a little bit of a laugh out of our conversation, because I think divorce does open the opportunity for us to move forward in life. And yes, it's a tough time, but it doesn't have to be the end. It is only a transition in life. Thanks for sharing your time with me on Undoing We. If this episode resonated with you, be sure to share it with a friend, and don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. If you're looking for some more support, be sure to grab my guide, 5 Strategies for Better Communication During Divorce and Other Life Transitions. The link is going to be in the show notes. And remember, no matter what you do today, do something special for yourself, because you deserve it.